top of the morning to all you fine folks that watch this channel. It's your friendly neighborhood old soldier coming at you today from a cool morning down here in Robeson County, North Carolina. It's supposedly going to warm up today to the 70s and 80s tomorrow, and it's the highs, but don't let it fool you. This weekend, colder temperatures will prevail. The old adage at time of the year, jackets in the mornings and the evenings, shirt sleeves in the afternoon. Anyway, that's for you, Brother Kyle. I hope everybody's doing well this day. I will give you a little bit of good news. I got confirmation that my other son is back in the continental United States of this here America. Thank God. Now, what his next steps are going to be, I'm uncertain. He is contemplating on leaving the service. I do not blame him whatsoever if that's the choice that he inevitably makes. If my son-in-law would call me today and say, "Pop," it's Top. He actually calls me Top. For those who don't know what it is, Top's an old Army term for top NCO in the company. More prerogatively referred to, more modern parlance refers to the first sergeant in the unit, but the meaning behind it's the top NCO in the company or battery of the troop. He calls me that, and I as a term of endearment, and I'm humbled by it and appreciate it. But long story short, if he were to call and tell me today, "Top, I think I'm going to get out," I would tell him, "Son, I don't blame you." The only thing I tell anybody that's in the service now that's going to get out, that's going to include my son and son-in-law, have a plan. Even though leadership in the military right now sucks a can of butt. Because of all the wokeness and all the libturd policies that have crept their way into our defense establishment. When you've got service members making them ticky-tock videos of them dressing up in drag. Again, what you do behind your doors is your damn business. Okay? What you do on your own time is your own damn business. But when you put on the uniform of one of the United States military branches and then do a video where you go from that to dressing like a Fruit Loop, got issues. And honestly, that to me is conduct unbecoming. Plain, simple, cut and dry. Now, if they want to dress up in their Fruit Loop clothes and act like a Fruit Loop all over the TV and this, that, and the other, and then come out and say, "Well, my full-time occupation is," all right, won't have much issue with that. But when you put on the uniform and then turn around and go to, nah, sorry, they don't belong together. That's like putting peas on a peanut butter sandwich. It just don't go together. It's nasty as all get out, which I'm sure there's some turd bucket out there that probably does eat peas and peanut butter sandwiches. I don't know. This day and age, nothing surprises me anymore. What people do, what they eat, whatever. And then my little friend down there in South Carolina, this is not a Prius. This is a Ford F-150. My Dodge has got to go back in the shop today because the oil pressure gauge kept dropping the other day. So, you have been duly informed. Anyway, once again here for you, Brother Kyle. That's what's going on with the old soldier. I'd ask you to pray for my nephew. Got a nephew that lives near Atlanta. He's got a lot of tough choices he's got to make here real soon. And it's not about himself. It's about his mother, who's not doing very well. He's got the weight of the world on his shoulders right now. It's my oldest brother's son. My oldest brother's gone on to heaven ahead of us. So he called me last night. We talked. Keep him in your prayers. I'd appreciate it. I growing cotton this year over in that field. Cotton in the roadside, cotton in the ditch. I'll pick the cotton, put it in the cotton ditch. Yep, old Alabama song. Song of the South, sweet potato pie, and I shut my mouth. Anyway, so yeah, back to the whole wokeism with the military. Oh, standards in general. In our travels back in May, where we went to Washington State to see our daughter and son-in-law and grandson, we went into Joint Base Lewis McChord. In my day, it was just known as Fort Lewis McChord Air Force Base. This whole joint base crap. You can take that, stick it where the sun don't shine, as far as I'm concerned. Saw haircuts in my day. I mean, bad enough they've issued a uniform that doesn't require anything but stick it in the washing machine and dry it and put it on. And I get for a combat uniform, that's, you know what, I got no issue with that. And this might sound odd, maybe expensive, I don't know. Our friends in the British Army have been doing it for years. They seem to afford it, and they're always talking about how they're always darn near broke. But they have what's called a garrison uniform. They have their fatigue uniform or their combat uniform. Of course, they got more forms of dress than you can shake a stick at. I wouldn't even begin to articulate the multitudes of uniforms that they have, because a lot of it's based off of regimental traditions. You know, they have their standard uniforms that's common across the entirety of the British Army. But then there's the regimental uniforms, things that are distinctive to that particular regiment, of which we don't. Mr. Popo got him one, got him one, got him one. But anyway, we don't. You know, a soldier goes to basic training at Fort Sill, Oklahoma, and a soldier goes to basic training at Fort Jackson, South Carolina, is going to receive the same basic initial issue and the same basic uniform sets. I guess what I'm getting at is, for when our soldiers are in garrison, maybe they should develop a uniform that's a little more appropriate to the garrison life. Then again, maybe they shouldn't. I don't know. Maybe they should take the combat uniform they got and put some standards to it, like, maybe take an iron to it every now and again just to get the wrinkles out. I ain't saying you got to starch it, but put an iron to it. Put a crease in the trousers. How about issuing some darn boots to take some polish instead of them fuzzy, nappy, flesh out boots that, you know, absorb water like a freaking sponge. They're next to impossible to waterproof. Oh yeah. Of course, now they got boots now that look like darn tennis shoes. So I mean, what do I know? See, in my day, having to press my uniform and shine my boots instilled standards, instilled discipline. Of course, you know, even in my day, you still had your dirt bags, that's what we called them, that, you know, looked like they crawled out of their sleeping bag with their uniform on during the garrison day, when they should have had a cleaned and pressed uniform on and a pair of shine boots that looked like they'd been gone over with a Hershey bar. Okay. Normally, you know, you spend a little extra time with that soldier until you got them squared away, or they decided they weren't going to soldier no more, and you took them and you got them put out of the Army. You know, I saw a video here recently of a basic training graduation at Fort Jackson, and not one private was in step. I thought to myself, that drill sergeant's going to get a real good report card at the end of his rating period. Then again, he probably was. I don't know. I've been hearing that drilling ceremony is not a big thing in Army basic training anymore, outside of basic facing movements and how to salute. Okay. So we're setting privates up for failure when you get to the unit to an extent, but then again, when my son-in-law went to his first leadership development course, it was online because of the Chinese bioweapon, you know. I had to go and teach him how to do land nav. Not that I told him I'm going to go teach. He came to me and he said, Top, can you teach me to do land nav? I said, okay. Went and purchased 2 maps, 2 compasses, and 2 protractors. We went out on Fort Bragg, up around the Mott Lake area, for those that are familiar with Fort Bragg. I showed them how to do a pace count. Showed them how to shoot an azimuth. Showed them how to stay on azimuth when walking that azimuth. How to plot points on a map. How to shoot grid azimuth to those points and then convert it to magnetic azimuth. So that when you got to that point, you knew what the magnetic azimuth you had to shoot to get to the next point. Taught them terrain association as best I could. Resection and intersection. All these things. Part of it is because this contraption I'm yapping at you on, you know, half today's modern kids can't get from their bedroom to the living room without looking at one of them. You give them a map and a compass and they look at you like, what's this? You hand them a road atlas and they laugh. I don't know how to use this. They were never taught. I've got a young man that may potentially intern with me at the shooting academy. He's getting ready to get out of the Army because of the wokeism. And he said that's what cemented his decision to get out. When he showed up at work one day and all other training was canceled because they were going to have a training meeting on respecting people's preferred pronouns. I thought, my God, this is the United States Army. Private Smith, Private Jones is Private Jones. If Private Smith is a female, it's she, her. If Private Jones is a male, it's he, him. It don't go anywhere else. There's no in-betweens. There's no, well, I feel like, you know what? You can take your feelings and stick them where the sun don't shine. It's the United States Army. You're in a war-fighting organization. And there's certain codes of conduct and ethical, poor choice of word, but certain conducts of training, the way you carry yourself, the way you're supposed to act in a professional manner, that's based on biological fact when addressing people. It's female, again, she, her. If it's male, it's he, him. But you got these Fruit Loops coming into the service because, one, they've heard that the military will pay for their getting their boobies chopped off or their, what else chopped off and these kinds of things, and pay for all the medications that, mind you, they'll be on the rest of their life. So now you've got this person that has done that and requires these medications to stay to this so-called chosen gender that they want to be in. But we're in the middle of a combat zone and can't resupply them with their necessary hormone medication that they have to have now. Because without it, they could potentially die or have a mental breakdown. Well, combat's stressful enough as it is, boys and girls. But yet, freaking Lloyd Austin is pandering to this bullshit. Man who I used to look up to as the epitome of an airborne paratrooper officer in the United States Army. Man who commanded one of the finest American airborne divisions, world renowned. Man commanded the 18th Airborne Corps. A Rapid Deployment Corps, known for deploying forces around the world in 18 hours or less, putting boots on the ground in hot spots around the world to keep peace. And here he is, pandering to this community of wokeism. What a crock of horse shit. No standards. I mean, in my day, you still had people that their thought of a good soldier was somebody that could press their uniform, shine their boots, and score a perfect 300 on a PT test and not have a lick of tactical and technical knowledge. And that dealt with that a lot. But at least they were physically fit and disciplined enough that they could learn the technical and tactical in a pinch. But we had certain standards we had to keep in garrison. There was things we had to know when we went to the field. Technical and tactical proficiency. One thing my son brought to my attention was that when he reclassified from the infantry to aviation, and even while he was in an infantry unit, he noted the decline in standards. That they were spending less and less time on their warfighter mission and more time on sensitivity training. Don't get me wrong. There's no place in any organization for sexual harassment. None. No place for abuse of people because of their beliefs in any organization. None. But at the same token, when you pander to nothing but that type of training, you take your focus off on what your real mission is. And guess what? If Paul likes Paul and gets upset because somebody calls him out about it, instead of being thick-skinned and just blowing it off, now I've got a problem. Because psychologically he ain't all there. Now I've got to go to combat with this guy. Because he's not mentally tough for the coming trials and tribulations they're about to go through. Why? Because he got his feelings hurt because somebody made fun of him because of his sexual orientation. Okay? And that can go down to preferences too. The guy in my unit, all he wanted was big women. And when I say big, every girl he dated was no less than 350 pounds. Kid you not. People used to make fun of him. He just blew it off. He just look at him and say, big women need love too. I also believe nobody has a right to put hands on anybody because of whatever. But there again too, I don't need whatever shoved down my throat. Boils right back down to what you do on your own time away from me is your business. Just don't bring it to work. And that goes to marital drama. You got these young kids joining that have only been married 2 or 3 months coming into the service. Can't manage a household, can't manage finances. So now we spend a crap ton of time having to get them situated and squared away. Financial counseling, parental counseling, because a lot of them come in as young parents. And again, I'm not knocking people's choices to do what they want as consenting adults. But at the same token, back in my dad's day, certain pay grades, you just weren't allowed to get married. You had to make it to a certain pay grade and had to have been in the Army for a certain amount of time. Of course, that eventually changed because that's not right. You can't hold back a person's right to go get married when they're okay. Well, don't get upset when, certain things happen because, you ran off and married the first piece of tail that you ever hooked up with. That's been known to happen. But we didn't dwell on stuff like that in my time. But now it's so in your face, shoved down your throat to the point it's taken away from what being in the military is about, which is a war-fighting organization to keep the United States of America safe, protected, and free. Anyway, folks, I'm almost to work. I'll stay safe out there. Till I get another one out. Neighborhood Old Soldier.